I was gonna invite you camping, but.
All right. I've gotten the notification on here that the meeting is being live streamed. It shows good on my end. You good on your end, Greg?
Yep.
All right.
I got nothing yet.
Is it, Greg, is it going to Facebook and YouTube or just Facebook?
Just YouTube.
Just YouTube. It has to be shared to.
Yep. Has to be manually shared.
I will take care of that if you want to start the meeting.
Okay, guys. While she's doing that, let's call this meeting to order at 1:22 p.m. This is the annual business meeting for the Libertarian Party of Brevard County at 1980 North Atlantic Ave, Cocoa Beach, Florida. We're in the Cape Royal building. Noted, during this meeting, LP Brevard voting members may vote on any line item of business. LPF voters who are registered voters and live in Brevard County and have signed the NAP may vote on elections. It is the one meeting that is different for LPF rules. So we will be abiding by the Libertarian Party of Florida rules for this meeting. All right. If you need to know if you are credentialed, please ask the secretary. Send him a message because he's doing it virtual today. We are doing both live and virtual. I will be monitoring for virtual comments whenever that pops up. All right, so we are called to order. Roll call. I believe everybody is in attendance today.
Mr. Chair, may I read off the roll call just to make sure I have people's credentials right?
Absolutely, sir. Go right ahead.
So the voting members I have in attendance are Greg Peel, myself, and Donna Wilson, both participating virtually. Nathan Slusher, Brian Fleming, Marie Peel, and Ty Heiler. The associate members I have in attendance are Grover Bentley and Rick Heffelfinger. Did I miss anyone or did I miscategorize anyone?
Wait. Are you accounting? Do you want to be accounted for future meetings?
Just take credit for your attendance.
Yes.
You do.
Did he mention Ashley? Yeah, we have Ashley here also, Greg, and Grover.
Okay, I did not see her on the camera. Ashley is a voting member.
Yes.
I'm not voting still.
Hey, you are a voting member for Libertarian Party of Florida votes, which are the EC vote.
Well, I brought beer. I think they.
And as a note for Mr. Heffelfinger, he will regain his voting membership in February.
Okay, did you hear that, Rick?
I'm eligible in February?
Yes.
Okay.
So the next meeting.
So that concludes my roll call. Did I miss anyone else? Sorry about that, Ashley.
Did you get Katie?
I'm sorry?
Did you get Grover's wife? She's sitting back behind me off screen.
Okay, no, I did not get her.
Is last name the same?
No, Albritton.
Albritton.
Albritton. Katie, is it
Caitlin Albritton.
Caitlin Albritton?
ALBRIGHT.
ALBRITT.
What?
Okay. I'll take a note to follow up and get the correct spelling later.
Greg, I just sent it to you. And
Okay, by what means?
Messenger, so you can catch it later.
Gotcha. Okay.
All righty.
And just confirming that Katie would be considered a guest by our standards.
Correct.
But she's in attendance, so she gets credit for this.
Okay, I have the attendance.
So she is a guest today. Starting the next meeting, if she comes or is virtual, she'll be a associate member.
She registered Libertarian?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
All right, sir. If you're concluded with that, I'll go ahead and move forward.
Yep.
And live stream is posted on Facebook now, so we're good.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yep. And I will note for quorum, we have perfect attendance regardless of which way we count it.
Awesome. We have a delay in YouTube, it appears.
Yep, it's always going to be a couple seconds.
Is Donna Okay, can you see, I know Greg is, we can hear him. What about Donna? Is she gonna be behind?
No, she's on Zoom.
She's on here. That was my question.
She just spoke on Zoom. She's there.
Perfect. Thank you, Donna. I just want to make sure everybody is accessible.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, with that, we are gonna move on. Do I have a motion to approve, to adopt the agenda as written? Or?
I'll make the
amend or
motion.
anything?
Second.
We have a motion by Ty. We have a second by Brian. All those in favor of adopting the agenda as written, say aye.
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 All those against? It's unanimous, all for.
Greg, are you meaning to share your minutes?
Yeah, I mean, it's the agenda and I'm just taking the minutes so people can watch if they want.
Just making sure you knew what was on the screen.
All right. Moving on to the approval of minutes, do we have a motion for the minutes from December 18th?
I'll move.
Moved by Marie,
I'll say.
seconded by Ty. All those in favor of approving the minutes as written for December 18th meeting, say aye.
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 All those against? Minutes are passed, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, moving on to annual reports. For those of us that are new to this process, this is where we give the reports for the whole year. The annual report for the chair. So last year was not as I anticipated it to go. I didn't get as much done as I wanted to. And so last year was lackluster on my behalf as chair. A comparison, directly in comparison to the year before.
Noted.
The one interesting thing that has happened since the last meeting, however, is I did have a meeting with a possible candidate to run in 26 for governor of the state of Florida.
Oh,
Someone who lives here in Brevard. He is a Brevard County citizen. And he reached out through LNC National. And it trickled down to me. I got the form and I went and had breakfast with him. I'm not sure. Nice guy, very professional guy. He's very professional. He works at Space Center. I'm not sure what will come of that. If it does. The form was filled out in emotional. I want to do this, but then when he had conversations, he's like, I might want to do this still. So he's going to think about it. He's going to get back to me, and maybe he'll join us and run for governor in 26. If he does, fantastic. I think those meetings, I had one with you when you first started this year. Those meetings with candidates are highly important, or even possible candidates are highly important with me. At the beginning of the year, we had one with you. We had one with 2 other people I had meetings with that we talked about running. Neither one of them chose to move forward with it due to what it takes to actually run a race. But that is the one thing I do feel good about, is having meetings with people who are looking at being candidates and setting expectations on, here's what the party is going to provide for you. We are a resource center. Here's what you can expect when you run a race. That way there's no unrealistic expectations going into it. We have come across that problem in the future, in the past. So moving forward, I want to make sure everybody knows what they're getting into when they sign up for this, whether it's a city race or gubernatorial race. So my year can be summed up in that is the one thing I feel I did well this year and focused on was talking with those candidates and making sure we are knowing what we're looking at. And with that, I'll conclude the chair report unless there are any questions. No? All right, moving on to the vice chair report.
I do not have a report for vice chair.
No report for vice chair. Moving on to the annual secretary report. Greg, do you have a secretary report you'd like to speak about?
Sure, why not? First off, I apologize for having to participate virtually. I would normally prefer to do this one in person. However, I managed to catch some sort of respiratory illness at a libertarian event. Go figure. So it's a gift that I figured the rest of you would prefer not to receive. So I am participating virtually today. I was not expecting to be giving the secretary report this year, but here I am. I assumed the duties of the secretary midway through the year. For the most part, the secretary's position is very cut and dried in what you need to do. You record the minutes, you publish the minutes, you publish the agendas, and you update and retain all of the other records of the party. And of course, part of that's also checking our PO box and COCO and a number of other things, which I've made sure to do. Mostly we just get spam or stuff addressed to a business that's delinquent to the IRS, but that makes for entertaining reading sometimes. Probably I would say the main achievement that I was able to do as secretary is I was able to go through and reconcile our membership records, because our records are very spotty prior to 2020. That the handovers for the party were a little bit on the rough side, but I believe I was able to go through and categorize all of our known members into either current voting members, which we have tracked, there are 8 of those, associate members who are actively involved within the past year, and there are 6 of those, and then associate members who were involved at one point in time but have not been active within the past 12 months, and there are 14 of those. A lot of those associate members are prior leaders of the party, prior candidates of the party, and then a handful of others. So I believe these records are in good shape to hand over to whoever the next secretary is. As part of that, I also prioritize capturing the voter ID and other information for the members so that it can be easier to look them up in the future if we do need to credential them. So aside from the membership records, which was my primary objective, I also have continued to maintain posting on our X account, formerly known as Twitter, and to a lesser extent on Facebook, although I entrust others more with that. And we've pretty much stabilized at 300 followers on X and about 1,400 followers on Facebook. We gain some, we lose some, but that seems to be where the algorithms have us right now. That is something that I'd hope in the future we can look more into how to increase our reach, but at least we're maintaining the presence we have. I don't think I have too much else to report as secretary. It's a very, shall we say, procedural role. I guess unless there's any questions, that concludes my secretary's report.
Do we have any questions for the secretary report? All right, moving forward to the treasurer's report, Mr. Peel.
Yes, sir. Well, to continue on the theme of the chair's report, this year did not go according to plan. The numbers we met for the year as a whole, which I will pull up separately as part of the audit for the motion on that, are extremely good for a Libertarian Party affiliate, but they also fell pretty short of what we were aiming for at the beginning of the year, as well as what we achieved last year. There are a number of different reasons for that would probably make for a good in-depth discussion for the new EC to strategize on. But I will say this, that we raised for the entire year $3,447.47. And for that to be considered disappointing is still progress. We spent $4,157.54. So we did run a net deficit for the year, but as discussed in prior meetings, that was largely due to expenses from 2020 or 2021 and 2022 carrying over into 2023. If we only counted expenses in 2023, we would have run a surplus. So those are the numbers we have for the year. All of the audit goes into the details, which we can discuss at more length on the motion to certify the audit if anyone wants to. The numbers more specifically for this meeting, since our last meeting, we've raised $331.48 and we've spent $404.32. However, of that 404, 125 is the security deposit for Lori Wilson Park, which we should get back next week. So our net income disregarding the refund of the deposit is a minus 72.84 for this period. We did submit our 2023 fourth quarter report on time to the Supervisor of Elections, no issue there. The next reports that will be due for the new treasurer will be the annual audit and reaffiliation, which is due by March 31st. I do have motions I propose to certify them now because there's no sense in waiting. And then we also have our first quarter report, which will be due April 10th. Aside from that, I did a final analysis of our budget. We closed out every expense line item. We will be going forward into this new year with no lingering expenses, which is a nice improvement from last year. That all expenses we have on deck will be those that are specifically approved by the new executive committee. The committee budgets, I will also say the committees were very frugal with their budgets. In particular, out of the outreach committee, out of the 1,500 budget, 318 was spent. And out of the events budget, out of the $1,000 for the events budget, $248.30 was spent. So that's something maybe the committees themselves would be better qualified to speak to, but in the upcoming year, I'd actually like to see our spending increase rather than decrease. Other than that, however, we were extremely efficient on all other line items, and I was very happy with this executive committee keeping a close eye on the budget and making necessary changes when it realized we weren't going to achieve our objectives. So in summary, and I'd be happy to review any more detailed line items if anyone wants to, but in summary, while we didn't achieve what I hoped we would achieve, I feel like our actual performance was certainly better than it could have been and still very good by the standards of a Libertarian Party affiliate. So I want to share my appreciation both for our monthly pledge donors, who are the ones that really did the heavy lifting this year, as well as for the executive committee for acting responsibly. That concludes my treasurer's report.
Report.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any questions for the treasurer's report? All right, we do not have a director at large report today because that seat is vacant. Is there anyone here who is capable of giving an annual report for the Libertarian Party of Florida? Actually, I do know you are the second region rep for last year.
Yeah, but I don't really have anything to report. I know Orange County is having a lot of difficulty and they might actually lose their affiliation.
Oh,
They're having a hard time finding a chair, treasurer, all that stuff. So the region might end up having some issues this year. A lot of issues.
so we're gonna hope Brevard doesn't keep pushing forward here. So,
Yeah, definitely. I'm just talking on part of the region.
Brian,
Yeah, well, they also had a vote. I don't know how it went at convention this weekend, but they were trying to rezone the regions again. I know.
They did it last year, didn't
They tried to do it
failed
last year,
they?
it failed. But they had, I think they had a little more people that were willing to vote for it, from what I heard, but I don't, again, I didn't pay attention to any of the convention, I didn't watch any of it, so. I don't know what happened, but that would be a big concern for Brevard, because the plan was to drop from the one that the old chair put forward, they were gonna drop Orange. And then it was gonna be like Volusia, Brevard, and what's the one?
Indiana?
No, Indian River.
below us?
Mhm. Yeah, they were gonna split those off and then have, which would hurt, was as far as a region, and the affiliates would sort of hurt. Volusia is pretty active, but there's nothing down in the river, so we lose sort of standing per se.
Is Dennis Bezigor still the Region 9 rep?
Not anymore, not after this weekend, this last weekend. I don't know who the new Region 9 rep is. Again, if they change the regions, then
All right.
I don't know who our region rep is.
So, okay, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, I can speak somewhat to this even though I wasn't there.
Okay, Greg.
So following the LPF Discord and asking questions, it doesn't sound like the regions were reorganized. If that passed, nobody's commented on it. I was told that our new Region 9 rep is someone named Eric Montgomery, but I have no idea who that is or what county this person is from. So probably the new chair should reach out and figure these things out.
Okay.
The executive committee of the state party did elect a number of new people. I believe almost every position except for chair and director at large 3 was actually up for election due to filling vacancies. So I believe we have a new, well, Pastor Tubb retained vice chair. I know that because he was appointed to fill the vacancy and then retained it. Lisa Gansky from Miami is now secretary. The treasurer is a new person who I don't even know. And then for director at large, I forget, Matt Johnson is director at large 1 and Ed Appler is director at large 2. So that's at least the findings that were reported to me. As far as I know, nothing really major passed. The rules report did pass with some minor amendments, but I think that was the only business that passed to my knowledge.
All right, thank you, Greg. We're gonna move on to annual committee reports. Marie, outreach.
So, with outreach, again, like most things, I did not accomplish all the things that I wanted to accomplish. We did not get a mailer out, which is part of the reason we were so under budget, because that would have taken up most of the budget. We did do I helped the chair send out letters to libertarians in the county, asking them if they were interested in running for office. Those were actually like typed up, signed by the chair, sent in envelopes. So directly reaching out to people. We did experiments with text messaging. We thought we were there. We actually, the chair and I were going send down the list in the program. We got it all set up and then found out nothing was going through because they wanted us to go through extra registration stuff, and there's restrictions on where you can get your lists of people that you're sending to, and they don't necessarily consider voter rolls, even though they're public, to be a consented list. So that's something to discuss with the next EC going forward, what the plan will be, how we want to handle that. But I did set up a sign up landing page through MailChimp, so we can do campaigns to, and even have like QR codes on business cards or anything. If we're at an event, like, hey, you interested in hearing updates from us, scan this, sign up to get text messages. Anybody that specifically says, yes, I want contacted from you, we definitely can, add to our list and start building that. But there would be some additional steps to fill out forms to get approved to do that. And if anybody wants to know why, that's a discussion I can have outside the meeting about the regulations that we came across. Sent out emails. We updated the MailChimp to a paid subscription to give us some more capabilities. There was some updates with the website and the hosting, a fun event where I ended up having to redo everything from backup again. Fun things, but we have a website, we have merch sites, going. There was good news that we got from the voter disc that we started out last year in January with 1,908 LPF voters. We have started this year with 1,989, which I know that's, in the terms of the big parties, that's not a lot, but for us, that was a 4.2% increase. And that was also gaining back a lot that we lost the last time they cleaned out the voter rolls and dumped the inactive people. So that was a pretty big positive change in that. There may have been other things, but that's all I can remember right now. So that is my report.
Thank you, Marie. Do we have any questions for outreach committee?
Do we have the undecided voters, the independents registered in our MailChimp now? Do we have the capacity for them?
We do not have the capacity to have those in our MailChimp. We have a capacity, I believe, up to 1,500. So, yeah, and they're, I want to say like 100,000. It's a lot.
What would it take to get up to that level?
$1,500.
What?
Wow.
Yeah.
I was looking at it last night before on the phone with you.
Yeah,
To add
I
up
mean,
the users, you have to go up to what?
yeah. Yeah, now that was why we tried Send in Blue, because they have unlimited contacts. But Send in Blue, I did an experiment. I didn't want to mess up ours. So since they have unlimited contacts, I put in all the NPAs, and the first email that I sent out, within 45 minutes to an hour, they suspended our account because too many NPAs marked us as spam.
Okay.
It doesn't take that much.
Yeah.
And so at least with the libertarians are like, nah, we understand why you're contacting you. The NPAs are like, no. So I just kind of let that account slide, because the only alternative was, they're like, oh, well, you can try and explain to us where you got your list and prove that it was a consent list and not a voter roll. And I'm like, no, goodbye back. So That is the constant battle, is trying to find out ways we can actually reach people, because with the same thing with the text messaging, obviously, the rules that apply to that, the major parties are not following, but they can afford to pay the fees. There's some pretty hefty fines, and they can afford to pay them over and over again. One of those fines would wipe us out.
We'll just tell them that Brian said it was okay.
Any other questions from the outreach committee? All right, thank you, outreach committee. Moving on to events committee. Ty, you have an annual report?
Yes, unfortunately, like Marie had stated for her outreach, we had a lot of excess money left over. We just weren't able to get the things we wanted to do done. Hopefully that'll change this next year. But we do have that bit of money that we were able to utilize for what we set up with the barbecue today. And then the pavilion, things like that. We had an events committee meeting about a few weekends ago, where we fleshed this out, decided, what we were gonna do for the barbecue. And then also we committed some time to trying to get some signs made up in the future for the affiliate, so that whenever we decide to do a picket somewhere or have something set up, we'll have these signs that really will not get outdated, that we can kind of utilize constantly for whatever we need. We had something special set up that unfortunately we weren't able to present that we want to. I don't know if I want to completely let the whole cat out of the bag with that. But it's something that we would maybe look forward to trying to do in the future, to continue something like that going. But as I said, we've been pretty frugal with the money. Only spent about $139 for the barbecue, for everything we had. And then all the other events that we did schedule throughout the year were usually, I just had a tendency to try to go to set up an event that we didn't have to pay a bunch of money. If it could happen free, great. And so I still, if I'm involved in this upcoming year, the intent's still the same. If I get a budget, I'm gonna still try and do as many events where we use the least amount of money possible. And then for the times where that will get the most bang for our buck, that's when I'll use that money to help promote things. Other than that, the one thing we have moving forward is that at this last picnic that when we had at the meeting of the picnic, we kind of had an informal chat about setting up some type of news source for the county. And once again, if I'm involved in the events, or even if I'm not involved in the events and I'm still part of the committee, I'd like some input into it. And we try and maybe create some news source, non-biased, put it out for the county, the happenings in the county. Did you know this was going on? Things like that, things to report. And then maybe even if that's successful, we can go a step further and start doing things from a libertarian perspective as well. Whether it be podcast or just a letterhead, we're still going to have a discussion about that. And that is all I have for the events.
Do we have any questions for the events committee?
Does the budget that is unspent carry forward, or does it get?
No, sir.
Gets reset to zero?
They all reset to zero as of the beginning of this meeting.
Very well.
Any other questions for events committee? Guys, I hate to be a pain, but can I ask for a 5-minute recess?
No,
I need a motion.
denied,
Oh, I moved for a 5-minute recess.
Second.
dilatory.
All those in favor,
Hi.
all those against? All right, resume at 1:56.
Smoke them if you got them.
No, I wish I.
Smoke in the building?
No.
All right,
Had your chance.
you all right? How was it, like, not enough time to get on burn one?
Yeah.
There is. Who wants to burn one? I'm gonna burn one.
I think it's too bad.
Oh.
Siggy. Sticky trees.
Alright. I'm gonna mute us while we're on,
That's probably.
Greg, Greg, you're still sharing your screen, just so you know.
Yeah. It's just
All right, y'all don't want to watch me doom scroll Facebook?
Not really.
Hmm.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Greg, we're gonna call this back to order at 1:58. I'm 2 minutes late. I apologize for the step out, guys, but we're gonna move back. Moving on to public officials reports, and candidate reports. Do we have any candidates that want to give an annual report or public officials?
I can give a quick one.
Do you want to go right ahead?
They moved it out of committee. They're trying to get rid of soil and water board. I'm done.
Oh, do we have any questions for that?
It's just out of committee. It's not, hasn't gone to full vote, right?
No, but it has
Support.
a lot of lobbyist weight behind it, I'm hearing.
Well, I mean, it is kind of entertaining because in previous times in other counties, we'd gotten libertarians on soil and water boards to try and get them dissolved. You know, the state might do it on their own.
Well, that was a stepping stone for libertarians to enter politics.
Well, for a lot of parties.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame. Brian's done incredible stuff with the bamboo and you tried to make that something. It's a shame.
In the school.
No,
Yeah,
nobody,
the school
nobody,
thing, yeah.
nobody appreciates you, man.
Private
That's
stuff.
just the way it is.
Technology.
Yep, that's all I got.
I have that whole system sitting in my backyard at the pond.
All right, candidate reports. I do want to say, as a candidate, I'm running for county commission this year. And, I've already, gotten a lot of good support from within the LP and from without the LP. I've gotten support, from people in the general public. We've had one town hall already that went really well. This time, my race is a lot different. I ran for city council in 2022. And it was my first race and I had absolutely no clue what I was doing. However, this race, I'm taking it from a political science standpoint, not just from a policy standpoint. So I'm actually doing campaign management, making plans, doing precinct planning, doing all the things that goes into running an actual campaign. So it takes a lot more energy. And a lot more planning. So I feel really good about this going into 24, and I hope at the end of this year we can give a successful candidate report that it worked and we win. So that's what I have as a candidate report. Do we have any questions?
What is the qualification date for you?
What do you mean qualification date?
When you actually either come up with petitions or you come up with money?
So petitions is May 14th,
May 14th?
and qualifying week, which is if you don't have petitions, is the first week in June, I believe.
May, June.
2nd through the 11th, if I remember, is the dates. But don't hold me to that. I may have read that wrong. But it's June.
Okay.
It's the beginning of June.
There's rumors that somebody else may jump into that race.
That's possible. I've heard rumors that, there's a lot of people that may jump in. I've heard rumors that people may jump out. So
Yeah.
it's just a lot of rumors at this point. When people file, and after having one town hall, the next one is on February 6th, we'll see what happens. That February 6th one's gonna matter a lot in my race. So it's a big deal. It's a massive deal for North Brevard.
And that's being hosted by who? The,
Save Sherwood Group
okay.
and, Royal Oaks,
I think Katie Delaney's involved in that and you're involved in
all 5 of us are.
all five, aren't you? Well, that's county commission. That's gonna be better. So I don't know. What do you want to do? We'll go to county commission meeting.
What do you mean?
We're gonna attack at the county commission.
Oh,
meeting.
yeah, that night there is a county commission meeting the same night.
Probably at
So,
Cocoa City one too, because they tend to team up. I don't know why, but
okay, do we have any other reports? Okay, moving on to old business. We have no old business. Everything has been closed out and completed for the year. That actually makes me happy. Nothing will be handed off.
sweet.
So, at this point, we are going to move into elections. Starting with chair. So we'll go one at a time, starting with chair. Do we have any nominations for chair?
Yes.
Brian?
I'll second.
Me.
I'll
Oh,
second.
Brian self-nominates. Okay.
I'll second.
Do we have any other nominations for chair? Hearing none, we are gonna have an election. As always, within the Libertarian Party, your options are Brian for chair or none of the above. They both do count.
I can go notice still? Good.
Nota is always a requirement with our elections in the LP.
You're not running again?
Huh?
You don't run again?
No, I'm not running for chair again.
Now I can vote in this?
Yes, every person in this room can vote in this except for the kiddo over there. But this
Just
is.
leave, don't worry about it.
LPF vote, so it's a election vote, any registered LPF gets to vote.
Okay.
So the election for chair, first up, we will vote all those in favor of Brian for chair, please raise your hand because I'm counting these off.
Does he want to make a campaign speech? Do you want to make a speech, Brian?
Do you need to speak about it? No, okay.
Good,
You're not gonna vote for yourself?
That's gonna help you in your voting, actually.
I don't know, do we trust the guy when he vote for himself?
I'm registering 7 votes in the room. Mr. Secretary, please register virtual votes for Brian for chair. And with that, you know what, Marie, I do need to know, what the virtual votes are.
Oh,
There are 2 virtual votes in favor.
Okay, thank you, Greg.
Wow, lucky you.
Um,
You snowed a lot of people.
All right, all those in favor of Noda as chair, none of the above, please raise your hand, or if you're virtual, please be loud.
Try vote twice.
No.
Oh, damn it.
So with that, Brian defeats Noda 9-0. Brian will be,
Yes.
Brian will be your chair for 2024.
one abstention,
Brian, I've got some drainage
Yeah.
issues at
and
my
one
house. I need to take
abstention?
care of.
One abstention.
one abstention, Greg, since Brian abstained.
Oh.
Who abstained?
So noted.
You didn't get unanimous.
He's a lackluster voter.
He
anyway.
did that to himself.
He has no political power.
All right. Moving on to election of vice chair. Do we have any nominations for vice chair?
Ty, I nominate Ty.
Ashley nominates Chai, Ashley nominates. Oh, good. Ty as vice chair.
That's a good team. I'll go for that. They make a good team.
Do we have any other nominations for vice chair?
Oh, I'll second the nomination, by the way. I don't know if we need seconds, but
I don't think we need.
Nominations do not require a second, but the candidates often appreciate them.
Okay. Do we have any other nominations for vice chair?
we didn't ask for consent either.
No, he's not getting consent.
Yeah, he's fine. He'll be all right.
All right, as always, we have vice chair for Ty or vice chair for Noda. Those are your options. All those in favor of vice chair being Ty, please raise your hand.
We have 2 hand raises online.
All right. All those in favor of Noda being vice chair, please raise your hand. All right, with that, Ty defeats Noda 9-0, and we have 1 abstention.
And Noda ran such a strong campaign too.
I was on the edge.
That Noda guy, I thought he had some strong words.
All right, next up, we have secretary. Do we have any nominations for secretary?
Boy. I'll self-nominate.
Oh, I was gonna say, I
Okay.
was just about to nominate you.
Unfortunately, right, you are not,
Because I'm a
you are not a
Damn it.
member till February. However, if nobody is nominated, the board can take a vote for Rick to be allowed to be nominated.
Even though.
Just the board? Is it just the board or is it all?
The,
It's voting procedure, so I would interpret the LPF as applying to that.
Okay, yeah, this is an LPF vote, so everyone in the room.
so I move to waive the requirements to allow Rick Heffelfinger to run for secretary in the absence of other nominations.
I said.
All right,
it was
moved by
seconded
Marie,
by
seconded By,
Sorry,
Brian.
sorry.
We
took your-
have. All right, now that all those in favor of allowing this, say aye.
Aye.
All those against, say nay. The ayes have it. With that, Rick, you are now allowed to self-nominate if you would so choose.
I choose to self-nominate for secretary.
All right, Rick
I feel
Heffelfinger is
bad.
self-nominated. Do we have any other nominations? Oh, what, do you want to speak?
No.
Somebody has to, so I'm not sure I asked.
No campaigning.
No campaign. Okay, with that, your options are secretary or none of the above. So all those in favor of Rick Heffelfinger for secretary, raise your hand.
2 online.
2 online. All those for Noda, please raise your hand.
Let you down.
All right, with that, Rick defeats Noda 9-0
That never
and
ran our campaign, but.
one abstention.
Thank you, dear God.
All right.
Greg goes no.
Oh, by the way, Rick, he already provided me with the secretary box. It's in the car waiting for you.
very well.
Oh, I didn't bring in the porcupine.
More than when I turned it over.
Oh, I failed. I didn't bring in the stab rat. Dang it.
Yeah.
Election, guys, we're gonna move forward. Election of treasurer. Do we have any nominations for treasurer?
I'd like to nominate Greg Peel.
Greg
second
Peel,
that.
wow. We have a second and a third. Greg, do you accept this nomination?
Much to my dismay, yes.
Do we have any other nominations for treasurer? Hearing none, your options this year are Greg Peel or Noda. All those in favor of Greg Peel as treasurer, please raise your hand. We have, okay, all those against Greg Peel as treasurer, please raise your hand.
Greg.
With that, Greg Peel wins treasurer 9-0 over Noda with one abstention. Next, we have the election of director at large. Do we have any nominations?
I'm asking with my eyes.
I would like to nominate Nathan Slusher.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Seconded, do we have any other nominations? With that, I would like to say something if the board is okay with it.
No.
Good thing you're not on the board.
Thanks.
Yeah.
This is an LPF. board, so it's right now.
I think into the meeting, I think. you're good.
End of the meeting is when new officers are seated.
Okay, with that, I do
One step
want,
behind.
the reason I am okay with this and the reason I'll do this is because of the conversations I had with candidates this year. What I would ask is if we get candidate forums, if people want to run for office, I want to set those expectations to help inspire our candidates so that they know what they can get. So I'd like to have those conversations. If you don't want the director at large doing that job, don't vote for me for director at large, because that's the reason I want it. They are the in-between between the board and the candidates. I would like to use it to the best of my ability to have those conversations, set those expectations, and guide them along the way. That's the only thing I will plan on doing this year as director at large, because I am running a campaign, and that is why I didn't want to be chair. I want to spend my time in my own campaign, but that is one of the most effective and important things I feel the director could do, is properly set our candidates up for success.
Good plan. I concur.
So with that, if the candidates in the room vote no against me and I didn't give them, go with what they say. But all right, so moving forward, election for director at large, your options are Nathan Slusher or none of the above. All those in favor of Nathan Slusher, raise your hand. All those in favor of Noda, raise your hand. Nathan Slusher wins 9-0 for director at large with one abstention. Moving on to deputy secretary. For those that don't know this position and why it's on the board, we feel it's important to have someone learning what the secretary does. That way, in case the secretary is not here for a meeting, they can take that up. It is not a paid position. None of them are paid.
What? It's not paid?
It's not paid. Okay.
Wait a minute.
No, you owe dues, actually.
Yeah, you owe dues.
Ha.
So
That's
with,
illegal under state law. Don't do that.
okay. With
Should've
that, would
muted first.
anybody like to nominate to be a deputy secretary and learn what a secretary does, just in case the secretary leaves?
Was there another Slusher person that was interested in doing that? No, she's not? Okay.
With that, I'm hearing no nominations at the time.
I'm a quitter. Somebody needs to step up.
Yeah,
I'm running the campaign.
Oh.
yeah. Dan, that was a good answer. He said, I'm running for office. All right, with that, we have no deputy secretary available. We're also gonna host an election for deputy treasurer. If anyone wants to learn what the treasurer does, in case the treasurer is not available and, they can do that job.
I would love to train you.
Yes.
Right.
Specifically, the idea is for you to be a deputy treasurer for a year and then take over next year
He's a
at this
taskmaster,
meeting.
though.
Um,
Pretty tough.
If there's anyone who would like to nominate for deputy treasurer, now is the time.
Come on.
Hearing none of the above is your new deputy treasurer. All right, elections are complete. Please welcome your incoming EC. All right.
Suckers. I'm gonna start taxing you.
All right. Moving on to, new business, certify and, what's wrong?
Oh, nothing. I just forgot to look to see that there was a whole bunch of new motions. I didn't mean to say it out loud.
Are there floor motion?
Yeah, we have a lot of motions.
Well, that's crap. Brian, quelch these motions, please. We need to go home.
Can't do that.
I'm almost out of beer. Quelch the motion.
Yeah, well, the first one helps us be legal for next year, so I suppose we should do it.
Yeah.
Moving on to motions. One, I need to pass the gavel off for a minute, please. Ty, can you
Okay.
please take the gavel. Lauren, sorry. If the board is okay with it, we gotta. have a
Yeah.
motion.
Yep, we're good. That's why you got a vice chair.
All right. Yell at me, dude.
Okay, on new business. So motion 2024-01, certify and submit 2023 annual audit.
All in favor?
What's that?
Can I vote to all in favor?
Well, you gotta let the mover present it.
No, I don't. It's Greg. I 100% back Greg regardless of what he has to say.
That's especially funny given that I typoed the audit last year.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I vote Greg every year, buddy.
Mr. Vice Chair, may I present the motion?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Greg. What?
Said, Mr. Vice Chair, may I present the motion?
Yes, you may present the motion, please, Greg.
I move to certify the 2023 annual audit as presented at the meeting and submit it to the Libertarian Party of Florida Secretary and to the Brevard County Supervisor elections as required by law.
I'll second. Are you there now? Okay, cool.
Okay, yeah, that's just gonna keep things going, keep us legal. Anybody?
I'll second this
Rick
motion.
seconds. All right, all those in favor of, well, do we have anyone that has anything else to speak on with this motion? No? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on with the vote. All those in favor of motion 2024-01 to certify and submit the annual audit for 2020. Well, this is 2023. Okay, yeah. All those, well, I guess we'll raise hands, please. All those in favor, raise hands.
Two online.
And the online voters as well.
Non-zero, huh?
So unanimous. Motion passes. We'll move on to the next motion, 2024-02, approve 2024 petition to reaffiliate with the LPF. Greg, you want to go ahead and speak on that?
I move to authorize the executive committee to submit the 2024 petition to reaffiliate with the Libertarian Party of Florida.
I'll second.
Okay, we will have Rick seconds. Anyone want to speak on this? Any objections so far? Okay, we'll move on with the vote to approve 2024 petition to reaffiliate. All those in favor, raise your hand. Virtual, good to go?
Two.
Okay, 2 on virtual. All right, motion passes unanimously. Move to motion 2024-03, approval of 2024 maintenance budget expending up to $700. Greg, would you like to speak on that?
Sir. I move to authorize expending up to $700 to maintain continuing operations of the party infrastructure itemized as follows. $60 for the monthly Clover credit card platform fees, which is $4.95 per month. $150 for our annual Zoom subscription. $360 for annual fees for the website domain name registration, web hosting, email services, and e-commerce plugins. And $130 for mail fees, including the USPS post office box rental, stamps, and other mail supplies.
Does that include the MailChimp subscription?
No, sir, but I can explain that in discussion.
Please do.
Is that your hint that you would like to second it?
I will second.
Oh, there we go. All right. So for the rationale for the maintenance budget, I split things up a little bit differently this year than previous years. These are just the things that needs to keep us legal, the lights on, things like that. My proposal is, so for 2023, the MailChimp was paid out of the outreach budget, out of the outreach committee's discretion. And I believe that rather than micromanaging it myself, it makes sense to continue to trust the outreach committee to do that, assuming we approve it. The other change is last year we had a facility budget for office rental. However, we voted to discontinue that on a monthly basis. And I believe it would make more sense to entrust the venue selection for in-person meetings to the events committee, since that's kind of their job anyway. So I'm proposing to roll that up into the events budget. So those two items that the MailChimp was never in the maintenance budget. And then I was proposing making all venue costs the event committee's responsibility. Those are the two changes I'm proposing over previous years, as well as just slimming it down in general, recognizing the kind of the realities of where we are. The three budget motions I'm making today would be a balanced budget on our current fundraising. And
So
that was the
MailChimp went
intention.
into outreach or went into events?
Which one?
MailChimp.
MailChimp.
They go into-
MailChimp outreach.
Who's the outreach chair? Not yet. All right. All right.
All right. So all those in favor of voting for the approval of 2024 maintenance budget expending up to $700, raise your hand.
Right.
Virtual, good to go virtually? Okay,
Two.
so unanimous. We're gonna move on to the next motion. Motion 2024 -04. Approve 2024 events committee expending up to $1,000. Greg, would you like to speak on that?
Well, once again, I am here to make a motion. Let me find it first, though. All right. I move to reestablish the events committee for 2024, establishing a budget of $1,000 to be used for planning and conducting events, including but not limited to quarterly in-person business meetings, political rallies, park and beach cleanups, tabling at community events, charity events, social gatherings, and any other events not specifically delegated to another committee, and to give the LPBC chair the ability to appoint a chair for this committee. This committee will need to be reestablished at the next annual business meeting.
Okay.
Focus on that.
Anyone else have any comments regarding this?
No.
No?
We need a second.
We,
So I'll second. $1,000.
yeah, should we increase it
Hold
to
on.
like move 13 or 1,500?
No.
We can increase it later.
Yeah.
Greg knows what the
It's
money
easy.
is. He's
Okay.
being
Yeah.
fiscally
Okay.
responsible.
If we, yeah, the whole purpose, Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we keep it at 1,000, it's easy at another meeting to increase that amount, correct?
Oh yeah, we can amend it at any meeting for any reason.
Yeah.
Sounds
So
good.
thousands. funded, I think.
Yeah, that's,
All right, let's.
okay, so
Second.
Rick seconds the motion, so all those in favor, raise your hand. Everybody's good. All those opposed?
Nope.
Nope. Okay, unanimous.
Great.
Motion passes.
Outreach.
All right, motion 2025 -05. Was that meant to be 2024? Greg,
I'm sorry?
What, you have motion 2025-05. Was that meant to be 2024-05?
Oh, yes, it was. On the actual agenda, it's 2024-05.
Okay,
But
All right.
as a point of not really order, but I guess I can bring it up anyway. At any point after the committees are established, the new party chair may also appoint the committee chair if he's so inclined. So if Mr. Fleming wants to appoint the events committee chair or any of the other chairs, if we adopt the other committees, he can choose to do so at any time.
And that does, by any time, you mean it doesn't have to be in a meeting? It's just an
Correct.
appointment.
okay. All right, sounds good. Okay, so, let's see here,
It's me and you go check them.
Greg?
Yes, sir. I move to establish the outreach committee for 2024, establishing a budget of $1,300 to be used for outreach, including but not limited to the use of email services, texting, phone banking, social media, mail, and other advertising strategies to encourage membership growth, promote the party platform and principles, recruit candidates and campaign staff, and solicit fundraising, and to give the LPBC chair the ability to appoint a chair for this committee. This committee will need to be reestablished at the next annual business meeting.
Is that an increase from last year?
Mhm.
No?
I don't remember.
No, I think it was
Is
thirty.
that accurate?
I'm just worried
I
about.
thought it was 1,000 last year.
Cost creep.
Yeah, I thought so.
There,
Hey.
well, there was an original.
Somebody seconds it, I would be happy to discuss it.
Second.
Who was the second?
Rick Heffelman seconded.
Brian
No,
seconded your motion.
Did not. Rick Heffelman did.
So, go ahead, Greg, you want to speak on it?
Yes, so this is a slight decrease over the final budget for last year, but an increase over the amount that was actually spent. The original budget we had for outreach last year was 3,000, but that was overly ambitious, both to what we could spend and what we could fundraise. So the 1,300 was scoped in line with what I think is in the realm of possible this year, with the expectation that if we ramp up fundraising, a lot of it probably would go towards outreach. Also, to one of Rick's earlier questions, one of the reasons I didn't specifically prescribe the MailChimp in the maintenance budget is I wanted to give the outreach committee the flexibility to decide what to do with that, whether to stick with it, whether to go to a higher tier on it. I think it would make more sense to have the people focused on outreach decide where that money should go than trying to micromanage it, was my thought.
Okay.
But this would cover basically anything that's mass communications to people outside of our events, either to let them know we exist at all or to encourage them to come to our events, was the intention of the committee structure.
Okay.
Well, what would be the upgrade to encapsulate the independents? What would it cost us to be able to add to our address list and grab the independents? Anybody know that? You
You
said,
said how much?
1,500?
A month?
$1,500 a month.
you gotta be kidding.
No, MailChimp is not cheap. Because I think partially is come to buy into it, right?
Mhm.
So once it was bought by them, it shoots that out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be my hope that the incoming committee would explore through and try to find achievable options. And since I don't know what those options are, I can't really prescribe them a motion.
Okay.
We can cross that bridge when we come to it.
Did you want to speak on this at all?
I don't even know what we're on.
Okay, we're talking about approving the 2024 outreach committee, expending up to $1,300.
You guys, nope, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
I'll second.
Is, Nathan, are you, Mr. Slusher, are you taking back the gavel?
I can if you want to, yeah.
Okay.
After we.
We'll do this
motion first.
Okay,
Okay, so if no one has anything further to discuss on motion 20, and we'll have to amend that 2024 to -05 on our
that was
website.
just a typographic error
Yeah.
on the
No
addendum.
Um,
The actual, it's
So-
correct on the actual agenda.
okay, good deal. Motion 2024-05. All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, good to go. All those against? In virtually?
No, there's only 2 online, so.
Oh, 2 online. Okay, so it passes unanimously.
Lee?
Right, to that. There, right there at the top. Okay, at this point, I will go ahead and hand the gavel back to Nathan Slusher. And we've already scribbled up to where you, yeah, all right.
All right, so it looks like we are at 2024-06, approved continuation of 2024 Gala Committee. Greg Peel, you're the mover. This is your motion. You may go ahead and speak.
Yes, sir. I move to authorize the Gala Committee for 2024 to continue operations for the purposes of planning and executing the 2024 Golden Liberty Gala, so that the committee may present a date, venue, and budget plan to the Executive Committee for approval, and then follow the necessary action to execute the approved plan, and to give the LPBC chair the ability to appoint a chair for this committee. This committee will dissolve after the presentation of the after action report at the next regular business meeting after the 2024 Golden Liberty Gala.
Very well.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ty. Do we have discussion? Oh, wait, Greg, you want to read your rationale?
I'm not going to read it literally, but kind of the summary version of it is that, as a reminder, we had started plans for the gala last year, and we had put down a $450 deposit on the zoo. Things did not go according to plan, and this did not happen. However, the zoo did inform us we can repurpose the deposit to another event this year. At that time, we adopted a motion allowing the Gala Committee to continue planning, but it was contingent on reapproval at this meeting, since we can't bind a future Executive Committee to do that. The goal here is to allow, basically, if there's someone or some group of people that want to conduct a large event to inspire our membership, we can call that the Golden Liberty Gala, and this would allow the committee to figure out what this should look like and present an actionable plan to the EC to either approve, amend, or reject. So this motion in particular does not grant any budget. It's just a task the committee with creating a plan for a large event sometime between now and the next ABM.
I guess my question is, we have half of the venue paid for already?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so whoever would take the gala would be asking for additional funds to fund the rest of it.
Yes,
If
sir.
they do something, okay.
Yep, they would be creating a budget for the EC to consider and approve. And also noting that whether we call it the gala or not, or whether it's the same type of event or not, we have the use of that deposit regardless of what we do with it. It would be a matter for this committee to work out with the Executive Committee of what exactly we do.
Just to be just to be clear, if we vote this down, the Gala Committee ends. However, we don't lose that position at the zoo. The Events Committee could host an event at the zoo.
Okay.
I just want to make sure the option. This is strictly to start a Gala Committee and do a gala. If the board does not want another gala, then vote no on it. And the Events Committee would be responsible for using the events, or we just lose the money.
Yeah.
Do we have any more discussion on this? Actually, yeah, this one.
I would like to say that I would, really prefer to encourage people to support the continuation of the gala committee. And that this year being a really important election year, that it would definitely be good for us to have that event. I would like to make kind of like a smaller event, leading up to it, to get people to come to the gala, more people to kind of know about it. I would like to pressure the LNC. The year before we had Spike there, we had a few different people there. And so I would like to kind of pressure more of the National Libertarian Party to come to the gala, to have it be more of like the place to be. The Republicans have their one, president, have presidential election party, and then the Democrats have their one presidential election party. I think we should have a national election party too, and this is a good place to have it.
Yeah.
We have a lot of politics happening on the Space Coast.
All right, do we have any other discussion?
I guess, Mr. Chair, one other comment I would like to make.
Yes, sir. Mr. Peel, you have the floor.
The budgets we have already approved before this motion establish a balanced budget based on our current fundraising. So I would like to establish the expectation, if we adopt this motion, that the gala committee would also present a credible fundraising plan to pay for itself. And that is part of the job of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Peel. I would also like to note that if anyone is looking for the continuation, that we're also considering stepping up to be the chair of the gala committee. Because if if everybody just wants it to happen, but no one wants to do it, then it doesn't work out, right? So with that, I don't have any more discussion. Is there any more discussion in the room?
Also, I can move it.
I think it's already been seconded.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, with that, we'll take a vote. All those in favor of adopting the gala committee and having continuation, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
209.
Okay. All those against the gala committee, raise your hand. And 1 abstention. So the continuation is approved. Gala committee still exists.
Who keeps abstaining?
I did on that one.
Wow. Very well.
All right, what, I lost my agenda here. Hang on. Okay. Discussion, moving on, we have one discussion topic here. There is no vote, there is no motion. It is just a discussion topic for the board. Options for a Brevard only Libertarian Party of Florida presidential primary. I believe the discussion is, can we pull it off? How would we pull it off to get people to vote in a presidential primary in March, so that we can just, it's basically going to be just a straw poll of libertarians in Florida. Can we use it as an event to get people there to vote? Or is it possible to do it online? I don't know what the options are. That's why we're having a discussion.
You said just Brevard
Just Brevard only, run through us.
For presidential?
Yep.
What will the state do?
There is nothing they can do.
They're not gonna pick somebody?
Yeah, they're gonna pick someone, but it's not gonna be somebody that's represented by everybody, by libertarians in Florida. It's represented by the people that only went to the convention.
Well, we
Yeah.
said delegates though.
Again, you have to go to the convention to be, you don't have to,
Yeah.
but you can be put as a delegate, but you're not gonna be voted for.
Yeah, we select the delegates, and then the delegates go to national and vote for whoever they choose. So there's no poll from LPF that's going to guide those delegates. I mean, I think one year they did a straw poll, but there's nothing binding on it. It's just,
So would this just be like a,
It was like us endorsing the presidential candidate, is that what we're asking for?
So if we did this, would any delegates from Brevard be expected to vote for whoever the winner?
There is nothing binding to it.
No.
Now, having personal expectations and having binding expectations are two very, very different things legally.
Okay.
Legally, there will be no binding expectations if one of us go to national.
Okay,
However, if Brevard County citizens vote for somebody and you vote against what the citizens want, there may be some personal expectations there.
this is an opportunity to engage the voters in Brevard and have them even be aware we have multiple candidates.
Yeah.
And this is who they are. Here's how you can research them and let us know what direction you'd like to see things going, because that could mean a lot to us for doing outreach to them to even know what they're thinking. So even though it's not binding, it could be an opportunity to engage people that otherwise wouldn't have interacted with us.
Correct.
Well, this would
To
be
sort
our
of
county rep.
piggyback on that commentary, the reason that I wanted to discuss this is primarily as an outreach event, knowing that it's not binding, but also knowing that a lot of voters feel that participating in a primary, I mean, the primaries are technically non-binding for the Republicans and Democrats too, just most people don't know that. But a lot of voters feel like if they have a say in the process, then that they're more involved in what their party is doing. And this is a level of involvement the average voter actually can mentally commit to. Whereas, for example, joining a party EC is a big thing to ask of them. So if we consider doing this, the goal would be to do it as an outreach event to reach more of our existing voters, as well as possibly attract new voters. I'm not under any illusions it would be a huge draw, but you never know. And to use it as a event, either virtual or in person, to reach more of the voters that we've had trouble reaching. And I do think at a purely personal level, I would find it very interesting to see who our voters would prefer out of the candidates, and how much that diverges from the actual outcome.
Brian, you have the floor?
Yeah, I mean, I know when we brought it up, when we tried to get Florida to do it, I was definitely for this. Because there's no transparency right now at anything above our county level, as far as the party is concerned. There's zero transparency. So it's more, instead of it being an actual political party where they're actually discussing bigger ideas and actually looking at candidates and so on and so forth, that they're not doing it. It's just like, in my opinion, it's just like the Republicans and Democrats. It's just a good old boy system. That if you're with this caucus, or if you're with that caucus, or this guy or that guy, then that's who you're gonna vote for. I think this idea I think we should be doing this. I told Nathan, I think Nathan and I and Greg and Marie have discussed it, and I think even Ty, this is something they should have done, and that I think we should be doing. I think we need to give the middle bird to the state party for that reason alone, because they, this is a good way for like Greg saying and Nathan say, this is an awesome opportunity for outreach.
So I think tying back to some of Nathan's comments about political science, that's something I've been trying to get smarter on as well, and to understand voter psychology and why voters support the things they do. And that's helping me understand that while I may see things from a particular rules and policy process, that's not how most voters think. So we need to figure out how to reach voters where they actually are, and encourage them to feel like they have a say in the process. Also, to Brian's point on transparency. The discussion point here, I think at least from my perspective, the outcomes I wanted to see out of this was a feeler to see if there was a consensus that we even wanted to try at all. If the rest of the members in this meeting said, no, that's crazy, then we can just let it go. The next question would be, if we want to do this in March, we're going to have to figure out the logistics pretty quickly by the February meeting. And we'd have to have offline discussions to make that possible. I know from some of our informal discussions, I'd sketched out 3 possible approaches to go about it, each with trade-offs. It's not the only 3 possible approaches, but I'll just throw them out here. The first and the most directly obvious one would be to do mail-in ballots, just mailed to every registered LPF voter in the county. It's very easy to do. It's also very expensive relative to our budget. It would cost us probably about $1,200 to $1,500 to do. It's doable. We would just have to decide if that's worth the cost or not. Option 2 is an online process where we have some sort of voting portal, either that we set up ourselves or more likely that we license from someone else. I know there are a number of online voting apps that are being developed in libertarian circles that we could potentially use. We could do it that way, and as long as we ensure that the process is reasonably secure, I mean, we want to make sure that we run a vote at least as credibly as the local Republicans do, right? If we run a vote and people question it, that's not going to look pretty bad. The problem with online voting is, how do we inform our people that this vote is happening so they know to cast a vote? Option 3 that I came up with, and ironically enough, it may actually be the cheapest option, is to do in-person voting in an event in somewhere like Vieira or Melbourne or somewhere somewhat centrally located, and just like rent a park out for the day or something like that and have people vote in person on actual paper ballots, and then we count the dang things. We could make a pretty good all-day event out of it if people want to do it, and turn it into candidate promotion and all sorts of other stuff. But of course, that requires all of the event logistics that would be involved in doing such a thing. But like I said, with venue rentals being cheaper than mailers, it may actually be the cheapest option of the 3. But then again, the trick is, how do we make sure our voters know it's happening? So those are the 3 options I at least sketched out thinking through this discussion point. I guess out of those 3, are there any that anyone's particularly excited about, or maybe there's something we're not thinking of?
Marie had her hand up. Do you still want to speak?
Rouge Light was not.
That was earlier, but I will say that this might be a good target of opportunity for a mailer. If we're trying to do at least one mailer a year, that might be a good engaging mailer, is however we decide to do it, letting people know through that, because we don't have full email contacts for every voter, and texting is its own issue. But what we do have is mailing addresses. And if we are going to try and do a mailer anyway this year, that might be a more engaging topic than our general, just, hey, we exist postcard. That was it.
Yeah. And of course, if we're running the election privately, there's also, we can put whatever propaganda we want on the ballot.
All right, hang on. Robert.
This might have been addressed already. Is there any kind of regulations regarding what we call this? Because if we sit here and say it's a straw poll, or if we sit here and say it's primary, we might be under certain obligations regarding that naming convention.
So from my understanding, the only rules revolve around who pays for it. If we pay for it, we call it what we want. If the state pays for it, well, we're not allowed to do it when the state won't pay for it. We've already.
The state rejected paying for it. The LPF did ask.
Yes. So I know of no laws that would get us in trouble for calling it primary. Do you, Greg?
We'll blame.
I am not aware of any limitations on it, but Grover's point is well taken, and I will take a note to research that.
Very well.
Right.
Yeah, I would say the fourth thing is, and something I've been researching, I've talked to Marie about, and I'm still reaching out, is I reached out to a digital marketing company recently, and that may be a way I can ask them about polling and stuff like that also. So maybe there's something out there, because I've been thinking along that lines also, you know, paying for it to do it rather than us trying to do it, having an expert do it. I know that if that would be a fourth option, but I know I'm researching that now, and that's one of the questions I'll be asking whenever we get our questionnaire back on the digital marketers.
All right, do we have any other discussion?
Is there a way to tie this in with the gala so that maybe we either give them like 20% off gala tickets, or if they, you know, participate, or something?
So if there is a primary, it needs to be open to every citizen.
No, yes, the primary will be, but what I'm saying is to encourage them to participate in the primary at all, give them a discount on gala tickets, or you know, tie the two events in together. So they come and see us in March, then they come and see us in November.
I like the idea of trying to make the gala part of that.
Yeah,
People get excited about the ability to vote for a presidential candidate. That if that encouraged them to buy gala, yeah.
so we're putting.
It's entirely in the realm of possible, but it does require the gala committee to figure out what it's doing pretty quickly.
We haven't gotten to the
All right,
gala
hang on, Brian has the floor.
Exactly, we need to do one thing at a time, because sometimes we get tripped up that we're trying, I don't disagree, that's a good idea, but
Good
we need to
idea.
focus, figure out the presidential, how we're gonna do that first. You know, figure out the primary first, and then once we have that figured out, then we can start adding on to it.
I think that's.
Because if we're trying to figure both out at the same time, we'll do neither.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
the new chair thinks this is a good idea, right? For just to kind of see where we're lining up.
Again, it's one thing at a time. If we want to do the personal primary, that'll be our first thing to figure out, get coordinated, and then we'll sit there and say, okay, because I know initially the gala was, but we were talking about doing it in July, not in November.
Yeah.
From the last.
Yeah.
No, even
We'll do whatever. the new
from when
chair
we
says.
postponed it, we're like, okay, you know, we'd rather do this earlier rather than later in November, because we were gonna try and stay away from that and do it in summer. From the.
There's nothing wrong with doing it in July or August if
Yeah.
we want to, because my thinking is if we have a presidential primary, right? Then we do the gala later, we can invite whoever the presidential nomination is in May to come to Brevard for the gala.
Yeah.
Which I think would be a much better idea, because you can leverage the 20% off or whatever you said to come to the gala, and all the people voting in the primary are going to want to come meet whoever gets the nomination.
I think everybody wants to meet the Berman. So I think that's a good.
but that was my
Yeah.
thought process on what you're
Yeah.
saying.
The only thing that we were saying stay away from May because that's when national is.
I know, that's why I
Yeah.
said July.
Oh, I thought you said May.
No, I
apologize.
said the nomination is in May, at
Oh,
the
okay.
convention.
I got
Yeah.
confused.
No.
And to speak to November as well, there's nothing saying that we can't have an election party, but I think our prior experience suggests that's not the right time to do the gala.
Okay.
Marie has the floor.
I was gonna say that I think I agree with Brian. There are ways that we can incentivize people to participate, but step one is to figure out mechanism of action. What method are we gonna use to actually poll people? And how are we going to advertise it? Make sure it's something we can do and we have a plan. And then we can work on what extra incentives we have. Because if we offer incentives and then we realize we don't have a mechanism to actually do we'll just line it up. How are we going to do it? How can we reach everybody? For letting them know it's happening and giving them their ballot, physical, electronic, in person, not, and then move to the next steps of how do we incentivize people?
I'm all for it, Brian's for it.
All right, am I hearing any other discussion? With that discussion over, I would suggest continuing this discussion in Discord. And then deciding on a path forward, which way we want to go, because if it's an in-person, we may need the events committee to handle it. If it's online, we may need the outreach committee to handle it. So we kind of need to come to a consensus on that. But otherwise, I think it's a fantastic idea. We just need to be able to pull it off. Because it's doing a primary is going to be just as hard and take just as much time as doing a gala. It's like having two major events in the year. So I do think Brian is right on that. We need to do the first one first. And then if that works, we can run on the back of that to the next one, but not until the first one is solid on a rock.
Tell me how to vote, Brian.
Okay.
You're my leader.
With that, do we have any other public comments? I know we didn't put a section on the agenda. Do we have any other public comments?
Not public, but I do have a comment
Yeah.
regarding the motions that we did pass as
Yes,
far
sir.
as the events, the outreach and the gala. We needed to appoint chairs for those.
So
Well.
the chair was given the ability to appoint those after this meeting is concluded.
Okay.
So yes, if you're looking to, you are right about one thing though. If you're looking to be the chair of one of those committees, please see Brian after the meeting. And
Pay your dues.
yeah, pay your dues under the table.
Make sure I don't know about it.
Yeah, we didn't say that.
Little changes,
Okay.
bamboo.
All right, guys, if there's nothing else, without the next business meeting, it's gonna be February 19th, 2024 at 6:30 PM via Zoom on our Zoom channel, Zoom channel, whatever it's called, on Zoom. Zoom calendar?
No.
Oh.
Tell me about
February 19th at 6:30 PM on Zoom. With that is the conclusion of our annual business meeting. Please be sure to congratulate your new officials for next year. And I'll adjourn at 2:52
Can I
PM.
put in one final comment? We had made a plaque for George Libovitz.
Yeah, we did.
And he unfortunately could not attend. He said, "Oh my goodness, I had no idea you guys came to believe that I am the patriarch of the Libertarian Party of Brevard County. Sure, I was one of the founders of the iteration of the chapter." He says the third time, I believe, but all I did was secretary for 4 years. And so I really, nothing special, but I would be glad to receive it since you went to the trouble. I will be at point of attending a meeting as soon as I can. I will let you know. So I told him we had gotten a plaque for him and
See if we can do it at the next meeting.
yep. So we'll
I think
reach
that'd
out
be
to
good.
George because
Oh,
George has been a reoccurring donator for a
only
long
we had
time.
in-person meetings every month.
We'll get that.
We'll get George out something. We'll get to him a social or something.
No worries. Yeah.
Or at our struggle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I'd like to thank
Primary.
Brian for picking up the slack on that. Black maze. He did a nice job.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, guys. The
It was
meeting is
a dropped
adjourned.
ball. He
Uh,
had to
thank
shut
you.
the
Now,
hell
we're
up.
all ending.
Mr. Heffelfinger, do you want George's award to be entered into the minutes for the meeting?
Well, the fact that we have a platform, we need to get him out to some event to present it with that.
Did you want the minutes to say that we have presented this award to him?
No,
So
we're
that it's in the
gonna present it to him later. He was unable to attend, but we have.
Okay, so it'll be
Okay.
minutes of a future thing. I think we're okay to end the live stream, correct?
Yes.